Hey guys, good evening and welcome to the IRONMAN Wisconsin course info, tips and tricks, and Q&A. Super excited for everything here this evening. Race day is just about 10 days away. Looking to be another fantastic event there in Madison. So again, what we're going to do here this evening is review the course. I want to give you some tips and tricks to help you improve your execution, help you produce your best results. And then at the end, depending on how much time we have left over, I'm going to get to as many questions as I can. Thanks to everyone who has submitted their questions in advance. If you have a question that you did not send over to me or something that comes up during the presentation, you can submit those via the widget there on that on your screen. If I don't get to your question here this evening, I will follow up with you in the next day or two, respond to you via email, but I will get you an answer to your question. My name is John Mayfield. I am a full time triathlon coach. I am both USAT Level 2 and Ironman U certified, and I have had the privilege of coaching hundreds of athletes from first timers to professionals and everyone in between. I work exclusively with long course athletes, so those racing 70.3 and Ironman distance races. Long course racing is my passion. I love everything about it. Just the experience, the challenge, the overcoming adversity, and everything involved. So, what I want to do here this evening is share my experience, my education, both as an athlete and a coach, with you to help maximize your performance, to help maximize your enjoyment of race day, help minimize your stress so that you can produce your best results and really enjoy this amazing opportunity that you have that is Ironman. So, couple tips before the race gets here. I'm going to be talking about this several times. This is something that I've really, I've always known, but has really become critical, or my understanding of it has become increased over the last several years. Hydration is absolutely critical. Something we see very commonly out there, especially on the run course, are athletes that are out there walking or running considerably slower than they had planned, not because their fitness isn't there, but because of execution. And one of the biggest mistakes we see athletes make in their execution is getting behind on hydration. And that starts in the days leading into the race. So, my recommendation is as race day approaches, especially in those last 2 to 3 days, always have a water bottle with you, preferably with some sort of electrolyte in it, so that you are arriving at the start line in a well hydrated state. Travel is naturally dehydrating. You may be going to a different environment than you're used to. So it is critical that you arrive at the start line with a good high level of hydration. And again, that starts with doing so earlier in the week, and not drinking just water, but also being sure to include electrolytes. Limit time on your feet. You've got a lot of work to do on race day, so be careful in how much time you're spending on your feet, how much you're doing in those days leading into the race. So there are quite a few things that you are required to do in those days leading into the race. You have to check in, go get your packet. You have to drop your bike off the day before the race. It is critical that you get in those last minute sessions in those last couple days. So I'm not saying to skimp on those, but just be cognizant of how much time that you're spending on your feet, how much time you're walking around. Don't take that lightly. Don't waste steps, so to speak. If your family is going to the mall and going to be walking around for hours on end, maybe sit that one out or save that for after the race. And make sure that you are pairing any activity that you do with recovery. So maintaining, hopefully you've been doing your recovery modalities throughout your training. So we want to make sure that those continue or even increase as race day approaches. So your foam rolling, your massage, whatever it is that you do, compression boots, compression socks, whatever it is that works for you, make sure that you're continuing to do that, especially as race day approaches. Check out the course. We're going to be talking about this a little bit more coming up as well. It is very important to know the race course, especially, I would say, a course like Wisconsin. There are quite a bit to see, especially out there on the bike course and the run course. So both of these courses are quite hilly. Uh, there are some technical aspects to the bike course, so I recommend going out and driving this course. Good news is it's a two loop course, so you're not having to go and actually drive 112 miles. You can drive something, I don't know, like 65 miles or so, and see the entire course. I highly recommend doing that. We don't want any surprises on race day, so we're going to be talking about the course, how the elevation profile, where some of these climbs are, but we can talk about it all day. It is going to be completely different when you actually go out and put eyes on what it is that you're going to experience. And so, what I don't recommend that happening for the first time on race day. So, once you arrive in Madison, highly recommend going out and checking out the course to see exactly what it is that you are in store for, both the bike course and the run course. Other than the segment going through the football stadium on the run course, you should be able to pretty easily access the entire bike course, entire run course, either via car, bike, foot. So, especially like on the run course, maybe a couple of those last minute sessions that you're going to be getting in, maybe just do a little bit of a tour, check the gears, check the brakes on the bike by riding some of the bike course, run a segment of the bike course, maybe go see some of these hillier sections that we're going to talk about, but know what you're in store for on race day. Be sure to read the athlete guide. Even seasoned veterans, there's usually one or two little nuggets in there that are very important. One of the things that I want to make sure you're 100% aware of, and we're getting really down to the wire here, but inevitably, every time I do these webinars, I find out one or two people don't know this, but keep in mind you do have to check in 2 days prior to the race. Though there is no check in the day before the race, and make sure that your travel arrangements have you there where you can get checked in prior to the day before the race. Day before the race is bike check in. Prior to that is checking in with checking in as an athlete. So make sure that your travel plans have you arriving on time for that. Things like that in the athlete guide can really make or break your race. There is a welcome ceremony Friday at 6:30. These are highly inspirational. They're fun. It's a great opportunity to connect with other athletes from across the country and across the world. So I would recommend checking that out. All right, on to the race. Race morning transition opens bright and early at 5 o'clock. One of those things that is discussed in the athlete guide is the parking and shuttle situation. So make sure to check that out. Parking is available at the Alliant Energy Center with a shuttle that will take you over to the transition swim start area. The water temperature will be announced officially on race morning. Generally, they will post the daily water temperature for 2, 3, 4 days leading into the race. Though it's usually posted at check-in. So once you go check-in, oftentimes you can see exactly what the water temperature was that morning, and then they'll post on social media as well. So I just checked the USGS website. Currently, there's actually been a reduction in the water temperature over the last several days, taking the overnight lows into the low 70s, whereas about a week ago, the temperatures were more in the upper 70s. So it is wetsuit legal up to and including 76.1 degrees. That official race temperature will be taken very early on race morning. I believe it's something like 3 a.m. is when they take the actual official swim temperature. So if that USGS website is accurate to what Ironman is doing, and they were to take it this morning, it would have been wetsuit legal. But again, it really is going to depend on the weather, what happens here in this next week and a half or so, to really determine where that will fall. So wetsuit legal up to including 76.1, 76.2 or higher, it becomes wetsuit optional, which means you can still wear a wetsuit, but you are no longer eligible for awards or world championship slots. You will also start after all those that don't wear a wetsuit go into the water. So there'll be effectively a non-wetsuit wave and then a wetsuit wave. Not really wave so much to speak, but that'll just be the order that you enter the swim based on that. All right, amazing swim course here in Arizona. Really iconic views. and really just a neat swim that you're going to enjoy. So, swim starts is begins at 7 o'clock for the age groupers. It is a self-seated rolling start. So what that means is you will line up according to your expected swim time. Typically, the way it works is they have, I believe, the fastest wave is 50 minutes or faster. And then from there, it's every 5 to 10 minutes from there up to 2 hours and 20 minutes. So, based on your expected swim time, you will line up with those that are going to be swimming a similar pace to you. It is a boat ramp entrance. So, effectively, you'll have a nice paved surface that you will walk into, and then you'll begin to swim from there. So, a couple tips for the swim start: get cued early. This is something that I advise really in everything that we do on race week. If there is an option to do it earlier or later, always do it earlier. And this includes starting early on race morning, getting down to the race site, getting parked, getting on the shuttle, get everything set up in transition, and then head down there to the swim start to get in this queue early on. This is going to ensure that one, you're not in a rush, you're not stressed out, you have plenty of time to get down there, and you are also going to easily be able to get to your desired uh, swim time, so to speak. Once many of the athletes get down there, you got a couple thousand people all headed down there. Between athletes and spectators, it gets very congested. Oftentimes, the queue is behind barricades, so it becomes very difficult to get to it. So it's just going to be better, easier, lower stress if you head down there early. Don't queue slower than expected. So I've done this before, and I've heard lots and lots of athletes who have done this, where maybe they're going to hang back 20, 30 minutes to be with a friend or a training partner or something like that. That is not going to be advantageous for you. It's going to complicate things for you as well as those swimming around you. So have an accurate prediction of what your swim time is going to be, and then line up within that. It doesn't have to be exact. I would even say err a little bit on the faster side, not too much, but you're going to have a great day. So be a little optimistic on that. Once you hit that water, don't panic. Now, this is obviously easier said than done. For a lot of people, this is not an issue at all. For others, it can be a major issue. But if you do begin to feel those nerves, just collect yourself, stop. If you need it, you can wave for help. There'll be plenty of support out there in the water. One thing that you can do is what we call sink downs. So this is just going underwater, exhaling, getting comfortable with the water temperature. We're not expecting it to be particularly cold, so it's not like going to be one of those fight or flight where the water is in the mid to low 60s where it's really hitting you hard. So that should help. But there's going to be a lot of energy. So just settle in, get in those sink downs, just exhale, get your face underwater. If you're wearing a wetsuit, it may be a little more difficult to actually get your head underwater because of that extra buoyancy. Take comfort in that and know that it's going to be really, really hard for you to go underwater. But from there, just settle in and have a great swim. So it is a two loop swim course. One thing that is it is a little unique about the swim course here is that you stay in the water. Oftentimes, when there is a two loop course, there will be a short exit, maybe a little bit of a run along the shore, and then you'll restart the second loop. But this actually is an in water loop. So once you complete the first rectangle, you'll head right back out and begin that second loop. Typically relatively flat. The water here is generally quite conducive to swimming. Things like strong currents, big waves, big chop. Not really a major issue here. So typically you have good water conditions along with good water clarity. So kind of a win-win so far as that goes. Sunrise to the east, obviously. So depending on how you breathe, which way you breathe, at some point, because of the orientation of the course, you will be looking at that sunrise. So, kind of if you're a left breather, you will be looking at that sun on the way out. If you're a right breather, it'll be on the way back in. If you breathe bilaterally, you'll be getting it both ways. Um, So, and that's on the longer stretch as well. So, a couple tips for the swim course is to take that sunrise into consideration when you're choosing your goggles. Especially given the orientation of the course, the time of day, I would definitely recommend a darker goggle just so that you can see clearly, especially to sight on those buoys. Break the course into segments. So this is something I'm going to talk about throughout the entire evening here. This is one of my main approaches, main strategies for racing long course races. It is a very long day. Each leg is very long. 2.4 miles is a long way to swim. Um, for me personally, if I think about swimming 2.4 miles, that's going to be overwhelming and daunting and not conducive to me having my best swim. So effectively, what I will do is break it into segments, and I will concentrate on one segment at a time. This is one reason I like multiple loop courses. So here, swim, bike, and run all are multiple loop. So this is actually quite works quite nicely here at Ironman Wisconsin. So for me, I would break this into somewhat of the section in the back, and you have to do that too. So you have four major sections here, and even from there, it's just swimming from buoy to buoy. Those buoys are going to be approximately 100 meters apart. They will be numbered, so you'll know exactly how far you've made it. Especially, you can either potentially read those from shore to know exactly how many buoys are from red turn buoy to red turn buoy, or at least on your first loop, you'll be able to see those numbers on the buoy, and then on your second loop, you'll know exactly how many is on each section and how many you've done. That's going to help you track your progress and just give you that feeling of accomplishment that you've made it. You're now 60%, 70%, 80% of the way. You're out. Now you've made it out. You can make it back. You've done it once. You can do it one more time. So that those are kind of the thoughts that are going through my mind as I'm executing an Ironman swim. The turns will get congested, so be aware of that. Keep in mind the only buoys you actually do have to go around are those red turn buoys. In this rectangular course, there will be one at each corner of that rectangle. Sight often. One of the things that really slows athlete down, not so much even slows athletes down, but increases their swim time, is the fact that they're swimming additional yardage. They swim additional yardage because they are not swimming straight. Keep in mind, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So the shortest distance between those red turn buoys is a straight line. That is what you want to swim. You will increase your odds of swimming in a very straight line by sighting often. So for experienced swimmers, that may be a little bit more. Inexperienced swimmers, a little less. I will start my swims with a higher sighting rate, and once I have that dialed in, where I'm not having to make adjustments, where basically every time I'm sighting, I'm still right on my desired path, I will begin to increase the time between my sighting. So, and then if I'm getting off course again, then I'll pull that back and sight more often, just so that I am able to maintain as straight of a course, short of a distance as possible, and then enjoy the swim. As I mentioned, this is a really neat one. You've got the crowd support there on the shore, up on the terrace there. You'll be able to hear them, hear the announcer. A lot of energy around this course. So really make sure that you enjoy the swim. And really, that said, this entire day as well. We'll talk about that as well. But Ironman is a very special opportunity. All right, as we head into transition, I would say off the top of my head, I cannot think of a transition that is more unique than Ironman Wisconsin. So you're probably familiar with this, but maybe have some questions around it. So as you exit the swim, you will head up into what is referred to as the helix. This is a basically a spiral driveway that cars will drive up to access the parking there in the building. So you'll head up the helix. It's relatively steep, but there is a ton of energy there. Great crowd support. Chances are you're going to see your family, your loved ones, your support crew here. So it's one of those things that really makes this a neat event. You will grab your bike gear. So you will actually enter into the building the day before. You will, when you drop off your bike, you will also be dropping off your gear bags. You will actually head into a room inside the building where you will collect your bike gear bag. From there, you will transition in the transition room, so they'll be separate for the men and women. You will repack your bike gear bag with your swim gear, so wetsuit, swim skin, goggles, swim cap, whatever it is that you're not taking with you out there onto the bike course, you will repack into your bike gear bag. You will proceed up to the roof where your bike was dropped off the day before. You will hand your bag off to a volunteer. Proceed to your bike, head to the mount line, and then head down the opposite side helix. So you will run up one side of the helix to get into the transition area. And then once you get your bike, head over to the other side, and you will descend down the helix. So good news is you get a nice little bit of a free downhill start to this amazing, super cool bike course. So, a couple tips for transition one: recover and prepare on the helix. So, it is a little bit of a longer transition. You are running uphill. It's not a real steep grade. This shouldn't be overly difficult, but obviously don't overdo it. I would say that just the energy alone that you're going to get from the crowd is going to more than offset the cost of running up this hill. It really is neat, really fun. So again, this is one of those highlights of this course. Be sure to enjoy. Now, especially given how unique this transition is, make sure you know your locations. So make sure you know where your bike gear bag is. Make sure you know where your bike is. Those are a long way apart, so we don't want to waste any time trying to locate your bag, locate your bike, and know exactly where to go from entering into the helix, up the helix, into the room where your bike gear bag will be stored, into the transition area, into the change area, then on to the bike rack location to your bikes, and then out on the helix. So again, a lot of things going on here, a lot of places to go, much more than just your standard transition where you go to your rack and you've got everything right there. It's in and out. So make sure that you're walking through this the day before, making mental notes, mental cues of exactly where your items are, um, and then be efficient. So you are on the clock in transition. We don't want to waste time there. We don't want to waste energy in transition. So know exactly what it is that you need to be doing in T1, and execute those as efficiently as possible. Pack minimally. You will need to get everything into that bike gear bag that's not all that big. You've got a lot of stuff to go in there, conceivably. You have to have at least a bike helmet in there, which will probably take up about half the bag. So making sure that you are packing efficiently with what you have there. Practice in advance, especially if you are not a seasoned Ironman athlete, or even if you are. This style of transition is largely unique to Ironman racing. So you may have done 100 sprints and Olympics and 50 70.3s, and you may be a ninja going through transition, but this is going to be different. So make sure that you know exactly what you have planned, know exactly what you need to do, and then practice it so that it just becomes automatic and easy for you to do. Consider a go bottle. This is one of my favorite tips to hand out. This is actually something that was given to me by the folks at Precision Fuel and Hydration. They offer these free consultation calls, and on this call they told me this tip, and I've used it and passed it on to hundreds of athletes since. So we mentioned before, and we'll mention again, how critical it is to stay up on hydration. It's also important, critical, in fact, to stay up on your nutrition and your electrolytes as well. So you've been in the water now, or for anywhere from about an hour to 2 hours. It's been a little bit prior to that you had your last calorie intake, had your last hydration intake. So it's been a while since you've had any hydration or calorie intake. So a go bottle is just a bottle that you would stash there in your bike gear bag. For me, it's a one of the bottles that I used in the several days leading into the race. So, kind of my beverage of choice before an Ironman is vitamin water, and I save a couple of those bottles to use as these go bottles in transition. One reason I like those bottles is they have a nice big mouth on it, so it's easy to fill, easy to add my stuff into, and then when I want to drink out of it, it just flows real quick, as opposed to your standard water bottle that has a much smaller mouth on it. So, what I will do for that go bottle is in T1, it's about 6 to 8 ounces of water. It's a full serving of my nutrition and then a full serving of my electrolytes. So as I'm sitting there getting my helmet on, shoes on, all that, I'm just going to go ahead and take down that 6 to 8 ounces, and that's going to get a bit of a jump start on my hydration, my nutrition, my electrolytes, making up for the time lost on the swim and getting me started as I head out onto the bike course. So I really enjoy that one. So take that into consideration and see if that's something that would benefit you in transition. And then be careful descending the helix. This is a little bit of a unique cycling opportunity. If you haven't done this race before, chances are you've never ridden downhill in a spiral pattern. There will be a bit of congestion here, especially if you're coming out of transition and in the busier time. So just keep an eye out for fellow athletes. Keep an eye on the ground. It's common for things to fall off early, bottles and things like that that weren't secured. So just be real careful as you are descending the helix and then heading out onto the bike course. So, Ironman Wisconsin bike course. It's a unique course. It's a beautiful course, very scenic, but it's also at the same time a very challenging course. We'll talk a little bit about what makes it as challenging as it is. But again, great opportunity for a very scenic course, a very mentally engaging courses. Some of the flatter faster courses can become kind of monotonous as you just stay in the air position for hours on end, but you're really going to enjoy both the course and the surroundings of the Ironman Wisconsin bike course. So, kind of like the swim, it is a two-loop course, which again sets up for opportunities to break the course down into further segments. Generally, good roads. They are kind of your typical age rural roads, but generally in good condition. So, not really seeing a whole lot of complaints about road quality. Some of the other races, you're getting beat to death by bad roads. These roads are generally in good condition. They're not brand new, freshly paved roads. There may be some segments of that, but generally good road conditions. And the course is never flat. I would say that's probably a pretty good description of the course, and certainly the elevation chart, as you can see down there in the bottom. There's really no horizontal lines on there. They're pretty much all vertical, up and down. So as I mentioned, it is going to be a challenging course, but it's going to be very engaging, very enjoyable. So there are four Cat 5 climbs. There are two on each loop. So it's the same climbs that you'll do twice. They are relatively close together. So this is definitely one of those things you're going to want to go out and see prior to the race. So just because I say there are two Cat 5 climbs, that may or may not mean anything to you. And really, what makes up a categorized climb can be a whole lot of different things. So the average grade, the length, all that. Go out and make sure to see this segment of the course. And really, it makes sense to kind of just go and see the whole course while you're out there, because as I mentioned, there's not really any flat segments out there. But the most challenging parts are going to be these four category climbs. The first is 4.3 miles long. That is going to be more so the challenge there. 4.3 miles of a climb is quite lengthy. The average grade is 1.2%, which is not super steep, but again, combined with that distance of 4.3 miles, that is going to be a challenging climb. That first, so to speak, climb is first encountered around mile 43, and then on the second loop it'll be around mile 84. So my stars moved a little bit, but it's right in that segment there, where you can kind of see on the first loop, you go to the north. At the furthest point is around mile 40 or mile 80 on the second loop, and then it kind of stair steps down to the south. So this first category climb is right before that longer southbound side. That last kind of, I guess that's an L shape 90-degree turn there. That is going to be this first longer climb, and then not too far after that, about 6 miles later, 5 miles later, is the other category 5 climb. It is 1.2 miles, so it is shorter, but about twice as steep. Average grade is 2.2%. So, as mentioned, it's a couple miles down the road, a little bit further south, right around mile 49 on the first loop, mile 91 on the second loop. So, just something to be aware of and really to consider is these. There's, as you can see from the elevation chart, all sorts of climbs, but these two more challenging are going to be late in the loop. So especially on that second loop, you're at mile 91. You've been out there on the course for a long time, and now you have to go up part of the steepest part of the course. So definitely make sure you're taking that into consideration with everything that comes into execution. And we'll talk about that here in just a second. In addition to those two category 5 climbs, there are several other sections that are 1 to 2% throughout the course. Again, basically everything you're on is somewhere between plus or minus 1 to 2 degrees. Now, that said, there's not a whole lot beyond that. So there may be some short segments that are beyond 2%, but they're going to be very short. So there's a whole lot of plus or minus 1 to 2%, but not a whole lot beyond that. There are some relatively technical areas. Again, everyone is going to have a different definition of what technical means. Everyone is going to have a different experience level and proficiency with climbs, descents, fast turns, those kinds of things. So again, all the more reason to go out and actually see the course, see these climbs, maybe even take your bike out there and experience a little bit. If you're intimidated by some of these climbs, it may be beneficial for you to actually go out and do some of these. Obviously, be careful, keeping an eye out for traffic and any kind of peril like that. But it may be beneficial for you to go and experience that prior to race day, just to help alleviate some of that concern. So again, looking at the elevation chart down at the bottom, we can see where those cyclists are pretty vertical. Those are the two category climbs. But again, there's really not a flat section out there. Obviously, there are the two larger mounds about halfway through. Why are those not categorized? It's again just a lower grade at different durations. But again, there's segments where you're going to be climbing. There's going to be rolling segments, but not a whole lot of flats out there. That said, it is a fair course. It is a doable course, and it is a highly enjoyable course. You're not going to get bored out there, which is great, because that's a long way to ride your bike. All right, couple tips for the bike course. As I've already mentioned here, I think it's very important to be familiar with the course. So again, know where the climbs are, know where the descents are, know where the turns are after descent. So if you're coming down a steep segment and you're getting a good bit of momentum, it's going to be real important to know if you've got a steep turn at the bottom of that hill. Or an aid station. If there's an aid station in the beginning of a hill, a middle of a hill, whether you're going up or down, again, not a whole lot of flat segments out here for Ironman to choose from. But I was doing Ironman Florida last year, which is a notoriously flat course, and one of the aid stations just happened to be right in the middle of about the only non-flat part of the course. I won't call it a hill or a climb, but I was definitely working harder than I was on the flat segment going up a little bit. And my thought was, why on earth did they put an aid station right here? They've got basically 111 miles of flat ground. Why have an aid station right here? So you never know where those aid stations are going to be. Go out, check the course, and find all that out so you'll know exactly what you're in store for on race day. Make sure that you have the proper gearing. So a course like this, vast majority of folks are going to have gearing that either is the right gearing or gearing that will work. If you don't know, or if you don't have a high level of confidence if your gearing is right, there are some online calculators that you can use. This is also a great conversation to have with your coach, with your local bike shop. Your local bike shop can also provide you with a cassette or rings and do the labor for you if this is something that you need. But I would say the vast majority of cyclists will have a gearing that will work here. And from there, it really just depends on how specific you want to be. Again, what kind of cyclist are you? Are you super strong? Are you very well established in climbing? Obviously, your gearing may be different than a newer cyclist that isn't as strong, not as experienced in the hills. So those are kind of the conversations to have. Get that feedback and make sure that you have the proper gearing before heading out on this bike course. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. Make sure that you are staying ahead of hydration and nutrition. Last time I looked at the forecast, it is looking to be in the mid 80s on race day. Mid 80s is not terribly hot, but it's hot enough when you are running a marathon after you've been active all day, generating body heat for numerous hours before beginning that marathon, including your time here on the bike. So it is critical that you stay ahead of your hydration and your nutrition. As I mentioned before, one of the most common mistakes I see out there on the course is athletes that are not getting in enough nutrition, enough hydration, enough electrolytes. Again, it's not a lack of fitness, it is a lack of execution. So make sure not only that you're getting enough, but stay ahead of it. So this would include fueling strategically. And what I mean by that is getting in all those things when you have the opportunity to do so. As we talked about, there are not many flat segments on this course. So if you are due for, say, a gel or a bar of some sort, or even just a drink, but you're about to head up a steep segment of the course, you're going to want to go ahead and get that nutrition hydration in prior to going and starting that climb, because then you're going to be behind. Not only are you going to be behind from a time standpoint, but now you've gone and done a more difficult segment of the course. So you've used more energy, you've increased your core temperature, and in that time, you weren't able to take in any nutrition hydration. So that's going to put you further behind. The further behind, the more difficult it becomes to get caught up. So this is why we want to stay ahead. So something I always tell my athletes is drink like it's your job, because it is. Make sure that you are staying up on your nutrition and your hydration. Be prepared for the climbs. We've talked quite a bit about this here in different ways. So being prepared means, again, having the proper gear, having the knowledge, even having an understanding of how to execute a climb. So if you have not had the opportunity to ride hills like this, it's probably a good idea to go out and experience a little bit of this prior to race day. Again, prioritizing safety out there on the course, but be prepared for those climbs. Know what your strategy is. What is your power number? What is your heart rate number? What is your level of perceived effort to get up each one of these climbs? And then recover on the descents. So the good news is it is a net zero elevation. So even though you're going to rack up quite a bit of elevation gain throughout these 112 miles, the net is zero. So what goes up comes back down, including going up the helix at the end of the course. So for all those climbs that you go up, you will have the opportunity to come back down, have that gravity assist. Kind of again, this is going to really vary for everyone. Some athletes will be pushing on those descents. Others will just be kind of spinning out the legs, allowing the heart rate to settle, getting in the nutrition and that sort of thing afterwards. The one thing I would say is don't coast down some of these longer hills. Use this as an opportunity just to easy spin. So even if you're not applying a high amount of wattage to the pedals, at least still go ahead and spin out the legs. That's going to help get your legs ready for either that next climb or the run. Speaking of, begin to settle in as you approach the loop. So you've ridden a whole long way. Now you've got to go run a long way. So towards that, begin to prep for T2 or the run towards the end. So piece of advice here is even though I've talked over and over and over about drinking like it's your job and staying ahead of hydration, one thing that I recommend, rule of thumb that I use with my own racing and with the athletes that I coach, is don't ingest anything in the last 20 minutes. So, give or take somewhere between 5 to 10 miles out, um, stop taking in your nutrition and hydration. The reason for that is we don't want the stomach full. As you begin the run. Oftentimes, as you come into T2 and start the run, sometimes there can be some stomach distress, a little bit of upset stomach. What we don't want is a bunch of fluid in the stomach getting sloshed around. That's only going to exacerbate that issue. So kind of settle in. Stop taking in your nutrition, hydration in those last give or take 20 minutes. Spin out the legs, get ready for transition and heading out onto the run. All right, so back into this very interesting transition setup. You will ride back up the helix. So you started the bike course by descending the helix. Now you will be ascending the helix back up to that roof level parking area. You will hand off your bike to a volunteer. They'll give you VIP treatment. You will head back into the building where you will retrieve your run gear bag. You will drop that bag off the day before, so you'll know exactly where it is. From there, you will transition in the appropriate change room, repack your run gear bag with everything that is not going with you out onto that marathon course. You'll hand off that bag or drop it in the designated area and proceed out onto the run course. So the tips for T2 look a whole lot like T1, and that is intentional. So know the locations of where you're going. Know your location of your run gear bag. Um, be efficient in what you are doing. Know what it is that you have to do and get through that as quickly and efficiently as possible. Pack minimally. So what you don't want is to have a bunch of stuff there in that transition area where you're going to have to be sorting through the things that you want to take with you and maybe the things that you may or may not want to take. So keep those things to a minimum. This is also going to keep your area clean. It's going to be easier to repack your bag. It's just going to be better if you only pack those things that you have to have. Practice in advance. So obviously this is different procedure than in T1 where you're putting on a helmet and cycling shoes, that sort of thing. Now you're putting on your running shoes, cap, visor, belt, race number, bib, all those kinds of things. So practice this in advance to ensure that one, you are able to do this as quickly as possible, and two, you know your routine so you will know if you've forgotten anything and you won't head out of that transition area without something that you will need later on. including potentially a Go bottle. So this T2 Go bottle is almost the exact same thing as the T1 Go bottle. The only difference here is I will put a little bit more water in it. So usually that T1 is 6 to 8 ounces, so I can just kind of chug it real quick, and then not take it with me out onto the bike course. In T2, I will do a little bit more like 10 to 12 ounces of water. And that is because I can either take all that down while I'm in the transition area, or I can actually make it a true go bottle and take it with me out there on the course. So it really will depend on kind of how my stomach is feeling. If I'm particularly thirsty, especially a warmer day, I haven't been drinking for those last 20 minutes or so, I may be real thirsty and ready to start drinking again. My stomach by now will have emptied. So my stomach is going to be ready to take on those fluids and won't be all sloshy as I start the run. So I may take down that full 10 to 12 ounces there in transition, and I may just ditch that bottle in transition. But if I'm not up for taking in that entire bottle while I'm in the transition area, I will just take it with me. I've been known to nurse these bottles over the first couple hundred yards, first mile, first aid station, even first couple miles, kind of depending on how that day is going. But I'm a big fan of that Go bottle. I highly recommend it. And again, thanks to Precision Fuel and Hydration for that recommendation. All right, one more really neat course out there, really unique as we head out on to the run course. Obviously, the stadium is one of the unique things. There are a couple other run courses that are around state capitals, which are super cool. Several different neighborhoods, a lot of things to see, and again, just a very engaging course here that is really going to, I would say, increase your enjoyment and increase the experience that is delivered while you are out there. So once again, we have a multiple loop course, so two loop course here out on the run. Great spectator support. I would say specifically, or maybe there's a concentration in two different areas, but really the entire course has good support. There are some kind of in that northwest corner as you get out. Kind of on the lake, there's not as quite as much spectator support out there, but there are some points along here that are just really amazing, almost Tour de France type support out there. So um, as you come out of transition, you'll start towards the Capitol. You actually go around the Capitol building, which is really neat. From there, you will run into the Camp Randall Stadium, do a length through the stadium, actually down there on the field, which is again super cool. Most people will never have the opportunity to run on a major D1 football field, but just a neat thing to experience while racing Ironman. From there, you'll head out to the northwest for the segment along the lake. This is where there's going to be a little less crowd support, but some really nice scenery as you get out there, kind of away from downtown. You go from more of a dense urban area to a little bit more of a nature setting. So it's kind of a nice break. And then from there, head back to the east along the lake, and then onto State Street. So State Street is right along campus. It's your typical college town drag. So it's the other spot. So the top two places are really the beginning and the end of the course here. So the beginning being the capital area, the start slash finish of the race where the finish line is, and then kind of the end of the loop where you'll U-turn there on State Street. That's that college main drag where lots of spectators will be out there having a good time. Probably offer you a beer. Whether you take it or not is up to you. Some shade, but mostly exposed to the sun. So keep in mind that we are expecting temperatures, give or take, in the mid 80s. So probably going to be relatively warm out there. Like the bike course, it is rarely flat. As you can see there from the elevation chart, obviously it's not as steep and not as long as the bike course. It is a downtown area, but still quite undulating. So there are three peaks, so to speak, but since this is a out and back two loop course, each of these three peaks you'll be doing 4 times. So there's a total of 12 ascents that you'll be doing out here on this course. So not unlike the bike course, lots of up and down, not a whole lot of flat periods. So where these are predominant areas that you're going to see these changes in elevation is right towards just shy of the stadium and actually kind of coming around the stadium. Which is this 15-mile mark. You can see the stadium there as you're going around. You actually will go in, but there actually begins that first climb is around the stadium. As you head out to the northwest, it's a little flatter, less climbing. Then as you are eastbound along the lake there, you're going to hit that next big climb. And then as you hit State Street and you're enjoying the college game day atmosphere, you're going to be doing some climbing there as well. You'll U-turn there at the end of State Street, almost back to the Capitol, but you're going to be taking the long way home. And then right before you get to the end of the first loop or approach the finish line, yes, you do have to do one more climb before that glorious finish. All right, so a couple tips for the run course. Be patient on that first loop. This is one of the advantages of a multiple loop course. So a common mistake that we will see are athletes that are going out too hard, too fast. So be patient on that first loop. Learn what these climbs are going to feel like. Figure out how you feel. How strong are you? How good are you on your nutrition, your hydration? How strong are you feeling? And then adjust. What is the temperature? Is it warmer than expected, cooler than expected? Is it overcast or is it sunny? All these things are going to factor into how fast, how hard you can run this course. So inevitably, we will see a lot of folks out there either running slower, considerably slower, or walking out on that second loop. The better you can avoid that, the better off your finishing time and experience is going to be. So hold back a little bit on this first loop, learn, kind of take note, and then you can be more aggressive on that second loop. I'm going to say it one more time. Stay hydrated. It's really going to be critical now, simply because you've been out here exercising, generating heat for several hours, upwards of, at this point, anywhere probably from 7 to 15 hours. You've been out there generating body heat. Your core temperature has been rising. Middle of the afternoon, warm temperatures, potentially sun exposure. It is critical that you stay hydrated and you stay cool. Again, a lot of the folks out there walking are walking not because they're not fit, not because they don't have the stamina necessary. It's because they're dehydrated and they're overheated. So don't fall for that common pitfall. Similar to out on the bike course, be careful on the climbs and descents. So it's a little bit different here out on the run course. Obviously, when you're out there on the bike course, you can just kind of take it easy as you go down those hills. As I mentioned, you can always coast, or as I recommend, spin out the legs just to get ready for that next climb. Unfortunately, we don't have that luxury when we are running downhill. So it is pretty easy to burn up the quads. Oftentimes running downhill can be more difficult than running uphill, kind of depending on the grade and the length, all that. Even the weight of the runner will factor into that. So just be careful and be intentional both on the uphills and the downhills. Pack your personal needs bag strategically. So you will have the opportunity both on the bike course and the run course to access a personal needs bag. Use that strategically. How late are you going to be out there? Are you going to be out there after sunset when temperatures begin to drop? Is there rain in the forecast? Is there some sort of special nutrition that you're going to need out there on the course? So know what it is that you're going to need and use those personal needs bags strategically. Little tip here is to take something from every aid station out there on the run course. Now, one, you paid a whole lot of money to get into this race, so you might as well get your money's worth. But apart from that, even if you just take some water, I said it was going to be the last time, but I'm going to talk about hydration one more time. It is going to be very, very difficult for you to take in too much water out here on the run course, especially when you're pairing it with electrolytes. Obviously, that's not there are exceptions to that rule, but the vast majority of athletes out there, even if they tried, they couldn't take in too much water. So, if nothing else, one of those small cups of water, take it in just where you're getting in water at every aid station. Depending on the temperature and time of day, maybe it's taking in some ice. And from there, it's what else do you need? Do you need the calories of the Gatorade or a gel? Do you need the salt of a pretzel, or maybe it's just something different on your palate? Maybe it's something sweet, like an orange or something like that. Take something from every aid station. It'll give you something to look forward to, and give you that intermediate target to say, hey, I know I'm going to have an orange, and orange is sounding really good. I've got an aid station a quarter mile up the road. So now I'm just going to I'm going to focus on this next quarter mile so I can have my orange like I'm a kid playing soccer. Um, then plan your aid stations accordingly as well. So what are the things that are according to your plan? So I get real basic in my nutrition strategy when I'm racing long course, especially Ironman. For me, it's a gel every other aid station. Every aid station, I'm taking in water. And then from there, I may just kind of audible. What sounds good? What do I need? So as I'm approaching that aid station, I have a plan. I know what I'm going to take, and so I'm not just getting up there and saying, like it's not a buffet that I'm just going to take something randomly. I know what I need. I'm going to take it, and then I'm going to get on beyond that. All right. Now on to the finish. So good news here. It is a little bit downhill into that finish line. There is a little bit of a climb initially, but then you've got a nice kind of easy downhill into the finish. So from here, I recommend cleaning up. So zip up your jersey, ditch the towels, the sponges, wipe your nose, wipe away the blood, whatever it is. There's going to be a lot of great pictures. This is going to be your Instagram profile for the next several months, and you'll probably put it on your Christmas card and all that. So clean up as you head into the finish area, and then make sure to take it all in. I would say if you hear one bit of advice from me here this evening is this: once you step onto that red carpet, really be present. Even I would say take your time. Don't rush this. This is what's going to bring you back again. This is what you have done all that work for, all that training, spent all of that money, and this is what's going to bring you back again. Make you do it all over just so that you can experience this finish line. It is magic. It is unique. And so make sure that you are there, you experience it, listen for your name to be called, your hometown. Even it's kind of fun to know what song is being played, especially if it's your first time to cross the finish line. So take it all in, plan your finish. A lot of folks do something fun, something cool, just no kids or pets or anything. You have to cross that finish line by yourself, but make it unique, make it yours. Find some space. You've been out there all day working under your own power, so don't cross the finish line with a pack of six other strangers, unless maybe you guys have done the last couple miles together, or you've been in this together. Then obviously that's going to be a unique opportunity as well. And then for me, one of my favorite things is just all the high fives, heading down that finishing chute with the kids, the random strangers, your support crew. I'm one that I love to just give out the high fives. Unfortunately, Mike Riley won't be back this year, but there will be a great DJ calling everyone in. All right, that is what I've got. I hope this has been beneficial for you. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope that there's been some little nugget, one or two here that will help you on race day, help increase your confidence, reduce your stress, and help you not only produce your best results, but really have an amazing experience here at Ironman Wisconsin. Now, unfortunately, we're down to just about 1 minute. So I'm going to hit just a couple rapid fire questions. I'm not going to keep you guys too late. But again, if I don't get to your question here this evening, I will follow up via email. So I think this will probably be a good one. Can you speak to more on the personal needs bags and the gear bags? So I'll try to make this quick, but yeah, this is one of the things that's unique to Ironman racing. Whereas in a traditional triathlon, you will have all your gear set up right there at your bike rack on the ground. So as you come into transition, you find your bike, and then from there, you just transition right there, grab your bike, and you're out. And then same thing for T2, especially given the layout here of the transitions in Madison. We use these bags. So you'll be given these bags at check-in. You'll be given a bike gear bag and a run gear bag. So basically, everything that you would have in your transition area, or everything you will want to have prior to your bike or your run leg, will be packed in those bags. So the one thing you absolutely have to have, as I mentioned before, in your bike gear bag is a helmet. The reason for that is obviously you have to have a helmet, and that helmet cannot be out on your bike like it may be in a normal transition setup. From there, most athletes will have cycling shoes, sunglasses, nutrition, whatever it is that you're going to want to carry with you out onto the bike course. Run gear bag is similar. It's most athletes will have running shoes in there, cap, visor, your number bib, and then from there, whatever it is that you carry with you out onto that marathon course. Something to be aware of is those bags will be returned to you. You will get all of that gear back. So as I mentioned, once you are in T1, you get all your cycling gear out of that bike gear bag. You're going to repack your swim gear into that bag, drop it off, and that'll be returned to you. Same thing when you come into T2, you will repack all your cycling gear into that run gear bag, drop it off as you head out onto the marathon course, and that bag will be returned to you. Personal needs bags are, I would say, less structured. They're whatever you want to have access to out there on the course. You can pack in that personal needs bag. So maybe on the bike course, it's a extra flat kit. Maybe it's some spare nutrition, whatever it is that you want to have out there on the bike course. There's kind of no wrong answers here. I've heard of Big Macs and all sorts of different things that have been found in these personal needs bags. But same thing on the run. What is it that you're going to want to have out there later out on the run course? Maybe it's kind of depending on like the forecast. Is it a long sleeve shirt, a jacket, a headlamp, something like that? Sections of the course will get dark. So if you're going to be out there after sunset, that is a good idea to have something like that in your personal needs bag. And really from there, it's highly individualized as to what you want. The thing to keep in mind here is personal needs bags are not returned. So make sure that either you don't pack anything in that bag you can't live without, or you grab it when you have the opportunity to do so. All right. And with that, we are already a couple minutes over. Sorry, I wish I had more time, but I know you guys are tapering triathletes, and sleep is critical over these next several days. So I want to make sure that you guys do not stay up later then you have to. My email address is right there on the screen. It's been there, john@tribetriathlon.net. Please feel free to reach out. Let me know if you have any questions, if there's anything I can do. I want to help. So feel free to reach out. I hope you guys have an amazing last several days of training here, safe travels, and an amazing experience there in Madison. Go be an Ironman.